Hello, everybody. I'm going to tell you about what I've been doing recently. I, maybe you remember a few videos ago, I talked about how I was going up to the back part of town to look at some vacant property. And so I went up there, I looked at it, and it's, whatever, just a vacant lot. It's pretty much what you'd expect. Very small and very inexpensive, because it's a part of town where you have a lot of public housing projects and very high crime rate, and you know people on the street sell drugs and stuff. I mean, I didn't actually see anyone selling drugs, but there were people who were on drugs on the street. I mean, you can sort of tell, or they were drunk and stuff on that little strip street where I bought. I ended up buying the property. Very, very small. You could build a very, very small building there. It's a commercial property, so I couldn't build a house there. I could probably build like a bed and breakfast, or, anything, a business. It has to be a business. But it could be a living business. I think multifamily housing was one of the... I have to go to the city and ask what I'm allowed to build exactly. But, right now it's just a vacant lot, and I don't have any near future plans to build, because I would definitely need a loan. I could not possibly afford, to pay cash unless I paid in installments. So, but I wanted to have something that's mine. So it made me feel good to have it. And a vacant plot, basically, as long as you keep the lawn mowed and, get the garbage picked up and you pay the taxes, it's really not a bad investment. If you want to put some money into something for a long term, like maybe to keep you from spending it, now you got to hope you can sell it for a higher price years down the line. But it's definitely not going to increase in value anytime soon. So I bought it at market, price. And so my plan is just to leave it there until I can build, or, or just sell it. Maybe even sell the vacant properties some years from now. But yeah, that's the issue. Now that I have a vested interest in the neighborhood, of course, the first thing I want to do is improve the neighborhood, try to get the crime rate down, and clean up the garbage on the vacant lot and the lots next to me. Some of them are publicly owned land because people have maybe lost their house to foreclosure, and the houses were then razed because they were in bad condition. They were dangerous, unsafe structures. So I've been going every Saturday, just once a week. Sometimes I go during the week because I'm trying to meet... I know the owner of the property right next to mine is from the area. He lives in the neighborhood, but I can never find him. It's like, everyone knows him. Oh, yeah, I know him. Yeah, I know him. I saw him the other day, etc. It's sort of... nobody knows how to get in touch with him. And I really did want to talk to him about his property, because his property is equal to mine. It's like they're same size. And I, just kind of get a feel for what his plans are with his property, and just, just to get to know the neighbors, in the neighborhood and the people. But anyway, so some of the people are actually good friends with him that I've met. People sit out on the street and drink, but actually the people out on the street drinking alcohol are not the residents. I've come to learn they come from other neighborhoods to hang out there. But the residents of the neighborhood are, maybe have a little house or something. They actually want the neighborhood to improve, and they actually don't like the transient people that come and drink. And the other day I went there to pick up some of the garbage, and there was a huge pile of glass bottles, whiskey, rum, gin, bottles, empty, all in a pile, mixed with garbage, mixed with beer bottles, mixed with just bags of uneaten food with maggots. I mean, it's just a horrible pile. Oh my gosh, it's just was so scary. And what's really kind of cuckoo is that the people are sitting there in like in indoor, it's furniture that's supposed to be indoors, like a couch. I mean, not a whole couch, but like an indoor chair. But they have it out there like it's a long chair or something. And I don't know. And then other days I've passed by and those chairs are still there and they're indoor chairs. So it's not like, I could see my grandmother used to do this in Argentina. We'd be, she lived in the neighborhood, but sometimes it'd get really hot inside the house. So she would bring an indoor chair, like a dining room chair, out to the street, to the sidewalk, and sit outside in front of the house in an indoor chair that's outside. But that's okay because it was a temporary thing, just for that moment that she's out on the street, chit-chatting with neighbors who are also sitting out in the street with their indoor furniture. And it was all, I guess, a temporary setup. And then when night falls and things cool off, you take your indoor furniture back inside the house. But these people have the indoor furniture there all the time in that spot. It's like a public property where they're sitting, but it's right next to my property. And I didn't fight with them. I'm not going to pick fights with people in a neighborhood. I don't even know the people. I don't even know if they live or don't live. But I've come to learn that those people don't live in the neighborhood. But some of them seem nice. None of them offered to help me pick up the garbage. But because that's the thing. I cleaned up all the garbage on my own property. But then I said, it's kind of useless. I have my property, the lawn's cut. I picked up all the garbage. And occasionally people will come by and throw more garbage, but I keep on top of it. And thank goodness they're not dumping there illegally so far. But since the property close by, like two lots down, is public land, it's Miami property, owned by the Miami-Dade County government. I guess people feel, they can sit there and maybe they can. I don't know what the laws are, but I know they can't drink there. They drink alcohol and stuff. But like I said, I'm not going to go picking fights with people, and they're kind of rough people, rough. They're nice. I mean, they're polite. I'm polite with them. They're polite with me. Because what happened is, anyway, just not to go in circles. So after I cleaned up my property, I said, okay, I should try to get some hefty bags and just pick up all that garbage and take it to the dump. So I got some gloves from Home Depot, like work gloves, and I bought a package of 10 because I had a pair of my own, so that's 11 pairs of gloves. I bought big, commercial grade hefty bags. They're super thick, like the kind construction workers use. And I put on a sun hat because it's really hot, and the sun was in part, the part where the garbage was, thank goodness, was in the shade, but the pile of garbage. But, on my property, it's all in the sun, so I covered up. And so I was good. I was ready to work. I had good shoes on. I had my blue jeans. And so I went over there to the, pile. I hired everyone. Actually, I've met some of them before, so there's a familiarity a little bit. I'm sort of an outsider, but, and I started, saying, okay, I'm just going to try to clean up some of this garbage because it's really gross, And, they all agreed. They said, oh, don't, but they also said, don't worry about it, sweetie. Don't pick it up. The city comes by every once in a while and gets it. So they're already, I guess complacent that, let's just throw it all here because the city will come get it. And I think that that's not a good attitude to have because you're not supposed to be littering. And just because the city doesn't fine you because they don't know who is actually throwing the stuff, because everybody's doing it. So, and then some people even illegally dump, not in that pile where all the beer bottles were, but down a little ways. Someone had dumped illegally, and there was just more beer bottles there, and just some gross things were in there, So I don't even want to. I mean, all right, I'm going to stay focused. So So at first I was sort of like, just kind of randomly grabbing things. And I said, how can I do this? And I thought, I had those extra gloves there without expecting anyone to help me. But I said, I'm going to take some extra gloves. So if it occurs to someone to help me, that would be good, you know. So I would be ready to offer them, you know, gloves and stuff. So I started, getting more and more organized, and I had gotten some different bags, and I was separating the glass and the plastic and the metal, and then the garbage that was like really smelly stuff, mostly food that people hadn't finished, and it was still inside the bag. Oh gosh, but the bags end up getting ripped open because they have even stray dogs in that neighborhood. Not a huge amount. I mean, you see more stray dogs in Latin America, but in the US it's not common to see stray dogs anymore. I mean, I haven't seen stray dogs, well, since Argentina, since I lived in Argentina. Because they're usually picked up quickly. And unfortunately, yeah, many of them do end up getting sent to the pound, and if no one claims them, they get put to sleep. I'm not saying that's good. It's good, but it's probably safer than having stray dogs on the street without any vaccinations or, I mean, it's a problem. People need to spay their pets, but that's a different issue. So as I was cleaning, oh my gosh, I'm one of those people that's afraid of pit bulls, and it's probably irrational because I know that, I mean, obviously the pit bulls that are encouraged to be violent and are encouraged to fight obviously are extremely dangerous. But from what I hear, dogs are dogs, and maybe pit bulls do have a little bit more of a viciousness. But even so, if they're not encouraged to be violent, they probably, are not as dangerous as we are led to believe. But anyway, so it looked like a pit bull to me. And pit bulls, I think, even are illegal to have in Miami because of the dog fighting at some years back was just so out of control. And I think a little boy was killed by a pit bull. And so they banned pit bulls from Miami-Dade County as pets. But anyway, whatever. Obviously, even though it's illegal, some people are going to have them anyway. So a dog, as I was cleaning, a dog comes trotting by. So that kind of startled me a little bit, but it was fine. The dog came around, sniffed a little bit, and left, and just trotted down the street. So obviously she belonged to someone in the neighborhood and was out for a stroll. I went back today, and there was another little dog running around, but it was a teeny little furry dog. But even so, it was a dog running loose, which, again, it's not very common. But here's what happened. So I was, picking up the garbage with my gloves on and, I figured I would work an hour or two. I knew I wasn't going to be able to get all of it. It was too much. But I thought, well, if I come back every Saturday and get a little of it and ask the people if they wouldn't mind putting the new bottles that they're drinking into some bags so that it doesn't fill the little, I don't know what you call the landfill. It was a hole where they were throwing it. But it was so overflowing, it was no longer a hole, it was a pile. And so a skinny lady saw me, just walking down the street. Hey, you're cleaning up. Yeah, that's awesome. She was like really, really motivated and, excited about that I was cleaning. And I was like, yes, oh, yes, great. Would you like to help? Yeah, I'm going to help. So I was so excited, and she was very thin and jumpy and sprite and had all this energy. And I said, awesome. I guess people from the neighborhood are seeing this, seeing me starting to do the work, and they're getting inspired by it. And, if a few more people help, we could probably get this, done today even. Like, if everybody... So she's like, yeah, let's go. And she was like really more excited about it even than I was. And I was, yeah, okay. And, she was getting me into it, So she goes over to the, yeah, she starts grabbing bottles and throwing them at me, the plastic ones. No, and she was taking also some of the glass ones too, but she wasn't throwing those as hard. I mean, it was on the grass, but she was like throwing them at me, like for me to, throwing towards me, not at me to hit me. You could tell she was trying to help, but she was just so overly excited. It wasn't really helping because then I had to stoop down and pick up everything that she was standing in the middle of the garbage pile and she was throwing the stuff my way, the recycling. So that was good. But, it really, I was trying to kind of, I didn't want to like stop her because I was happy that she was, excited about it. But at the same time, I was trying to tell her, oh, okay, try to just not go so fast. So maybe you could just put them straight into the bag instead of, I was trying to, and she was not listening. She was just throwing I said, okay, focus on the plastic. I said, at least, to try to guide her. She started grabbing the plastic bottles, throwing them, like really, really, just like a little, even overboard. And I could tell she was on something. I mean, I'm not that naive. I could tell she had taken something. I figured maybe she was drunk or something. And, you could tell she had some sort of addiction problem. But, so I also knew that she likely might ask for money because addicts, it's not the first time it's happened to me. If you're addicted just to alcohol or anything, oftentimes you can't work because you have that illness. I do believe it's an illness. It's very unfortunate. I don't judge addicts. But so a way that they sometimes get money to support their habit is by doing whatever they can. Like, hey, here's someone cleaning. I'm going to ask her for money afterwards. Or, hey, this guy is looking for some action. They have to do things maybe that ordinarily one wouldn't do. But so she was figuring maybe she would do this and I'd give her a few bucks. So I wanted to make it clear to her that I didn't have any money before she thought that she might get something out of it. And not to make her do all that work so that at the end then she feels gypped or whatever. Because then on top of that, if she's addicted to something, I don't want to make an addict angry, So I just was sort of like, okay, So then, so one of the guys that was hanging around there also, I guess, looked at me and said, look, she's going to ask you for money when she's done. And I said, no, I already told her that I don't have any money. And I said it really loud so that she would hear me again, just in case she didn't hear me the first time. She said, that's okay. What are you talking about? I'm not going to ask for money. I was like, okay, well, that's good. Okay. But at this point, I was kind of concerned also because she wasn't completely there. I mean, yes, she was kind of helping, which actually, look at that. The addict was helping, and the people who were, there were some guys drinking that weren't completely drunk. They were just drinking, but they could handle their liquor, or they appeared to be able to. They weren't even helping. So, okay, so then I was concerned about her because obviously if she is addicted or drunk or whatever she was on, she might fall over onto the garbage pile, and there was broken glass in there too. She took the gloves, but on top of that, she had the gloves on backwards. That you have the side that's rubber that's kind of protecting you. She had them on backwards, so she had the cloth side that was on her palm. So if she would have grabbed a broken glass or something, it would have cut right through. So I said, okay, I've got to tell her that we're done and that I'll see her next weekend, because I said, oh, okay, that's great. We did it. I'm okay. That's enough for today. I'm going to come back next weekend. That's good. Thank you so much. I was really, and thank goodness she said, oh, okay, great. Yeah, thanks. That's awesome. And she walked away. And, so it all ended okay, but, so anyway, as it turns out, I did not get much help. I ended up just picking up, what she had thrown out of the pile of garbage. I kind of got a few of the bags that were smelly garbage. I filled up a hefty bag of that. Oh my gosh, it smelled so bad. And the plastic was was like really, really full. The plastic bottles were just one entire huge hefty bag of that. Then I had a entire huge bag of garbage that was for throwing out. And then I had a heavy bag that was almost full of glass bottles. And then there was a bag, there was very few metal, very few metal bottles, so metal cans, like, Coke and those kind of things. It was all liquor. It was all beer, liquor bottles, or water, a lot of water, bottles of water. And there was no Coca-Cola cans, no, so you can tell then that the people that are hanging out drinking are not the young kids in the neighborhood that might drink a Coke or a Sprite and throw it in there. I mean, they're just hardcore drinkers. So, one guy helped me with the heavy beer bottle, because the bag of beer bottles was really heavy, and the bag of plastic bottles, I picked it up with one hand. It was so light. There's my dog drinking. Hang on. So go lie down, sweetie. Go on. So I had them put in my trunk of my car, because I know there's a landfill a few blocks away. I said, okay, I'll just take these to the landfill. I knew that I would have to pay a little bit for them to take the stuff, but I had separated all the bottles from each other and the glass from the plastic, so it was ready to just dump. And so I get to the landfill and they told me, oh no, you can't, I don't know the rules of the landfill. I mean, all I know is here we pay our taxes and the garbage truck comes and takes your garbage, or your recycling. And those landfills are more for people either who live in a part of the county that doesn't have garbage service, so they bring their garbage, or private garbage collectors will service some parts of town, or private garbage collectors will service commercial lots, which is my case. I have a commercial lot. It doesn't have residential garbage service. My taxes don't cover it. So I would have to pay, let's say I opened a business and put a building there, I would have to have my own garbage bin and have my own private garbage collector come and get it, and like in any office building or a restaurant or whatever. So they said, yeah, you can't, whatever. They checked my driver's license and they said, no, you can't dump it here. You can't dump your garbage here because you have to go to this other place. So they sent me to another place that was like, let me see, I was up at 62nd Street. No, and that landfill was up at 80th, like 79th, 80th Street. And I had to go to 20th Street. So that's like 60 blocks down and a few blocks over. So that garbage was stinking so bad. I mean, I thought, okay, it's stinking really bad, but I only had to drive. I was at 62nd. I had to drive up to 80th. So I said, okay, I only have to drive 20 blocks north. It was basically straight up the street. So I said, I can handle that. So I just had to hold my breath most of the way, and I cracked the window a little because I had the air conditioner on too, so it was so hot. Oh, good Lord. And I was just dying, and then the guy tells me that I couldn't dump there. I had to go to this other place, and I said, oh, and I wanted to follow the rules. I didn't want to argue, but I almost felt like telling him, please, I'm about to faint. This stuff stinks so bad. And the car's pretty new. I got it a year ago. Oh, and I drive very rarely, because I don't commute. I commute to work on public transportation. So the car is like brand new almost. And this is the first time I've ever put something so horrible inside. And I was just like, oh my gosh, please, like inside my head, please let me throw the garbage here. But I just didn't have the guts to break the rules, so, to speak, and it wasn't right. And plus that was a free place. I didn't understand why I couldn't dump there, but I couldn't. He said, you've got to go to this other place and you've got to pay and they'll take your garbage, but you can't dump your, based on whatever he swiped on my driver's license, you know, I didn't qualify to dump my garbage there. So I'll figure out what the reason is later. But my only thing was, I've got to get this garbage out of my car. I am dying here. And, you know, the bottles, the recycling wasn't so bad. I mean, you smell a little bit of the beer, but you really didn't smell it. But the garbage was garbage. I mean, it was food. And when I was cleaning it up, one of them busted open, and it was full of maggots. So I didn't take that one with me. But, you know, because people, why do they do that? That's another thing I was thinking to myself. If you don't finish your food, dump out the food and bury it, you know, because the food will disintegrate. But if you dump it out inside a plastic bag, it's just going to rot inside the bag. And how did those maggots get in there anyway, you know, if the bag was sealed? So that means there were eggs in the food? I don't know. It was so gross. I almost screamed. I didn't scream because I wanted to be brave, especially in front of all those people. But when that bag ripped open and you saw these white maggots crawling around. I mean, it was complete. I don't even know what it was in one of those styrofoam things that opened. Oh. And I knew some of those bags had those maggots in there. And I was just thinking, if I don't get this garbage out, and something's going to happen. And I was afraid that they were all going to escape. I was just like, oh, gross. Oh, I just had a flashback. Oh, my gosh. So okay. I said, okay, thank you. I'll go. He gave me the address. So I had to drive 60 blocks down, and like it was, let's see, 12th. So I was at 17. So, you know, a few blocks over Avenue. And I get to the other place, and I drive in there, and I'm like, okay, you know, the guy comes out looking at me like, you know, yes? I guess, I don't know. I was wondering, what are you looking at me, you know? I said, oh, I'm just here to, you know, drop off some garbage. And he was, I don't know what, you know, like he'd never seen someone drop off garbage before, but I guess I realized later what he was looking at. But so I said, well, he said, oh, well, no, what you got to do is call a private garbage collector, and they will bring the garbage here. And he had scanned my driver's license too. And he said, no, you can't drop. He also told me, you can't leave your garbage here. You don't qualify. You don't, you know, I guess because I'm from incorporated part of the county, and that was a place for unincorporated or businesses. And I told him, well, yeah, that's my driver's license and that's my home address, but this is garbage from a commercial lot that I'm cleaning up. So, you know, I can dump here. And I don't know why I had to argue with him to let me, you know, and he said, oh, well, you're going to have to pay. I said, that's okay, I'll pay. I would, at that point, I would have paid $100 to get that stinky bag of garbage out of my car. I honestly was getting ready to puke. It smelled so bad. And I think there was even poop in there. I don't even want to know what kind of poop. I'm hoping it was just dog poop. I don't know. Oh, so I, you know, he said, okay, well, all right, just drive your car up there onto the scale. You know, he was nice, and they're going to weigh your car and show them your ID. And on the way out, they're going to weigh your car again, and whatever the difference is, that's what you'll pay, you know, for the amount of garbage that you left. So I did it. I got on there on the scale, and I had to get out, and I leave the car there on the scale. I guess, I don't know at what point they weighed me, but they probably weighed me while I was still in the car. And I got out. I gave her my ID and my debit card. I guess they hold it hostage until you leave. And so then, oh, but the first thing I noticed, even before I got on the scale, the place was full of ibises. Ibis is a bird here that I didn't realize was a, I guess ibises are, they usually walk around in flocks. And when you see them here in Miami, you think, oh, what an exotic bird. You know, if you're not, especially when I was new to Miami, but even I've been here since 97 on and off. And I always thought they were kind of cool birds. They travel around in flocks and they looked kind of exotic to me. The garbage dump landfill was jam-packed with ibises. You didn't see any pigeons or seagulls. They were all ibises. And like thousands, hundreds or thousands of them everywhere. And I thought, I didn't realize these were scavenger birds. I thought that they were kind of fancy birds, you know. And they were everywhere. And it was, what was really weird was, because usually when you see a landfill, you see seagulls, especially Miami, we're right by the ocean. But apparently these ibises are scavengers, and I don't know why the seagulls aren't hanging around. Maybe they're so, I don't know. I'm actually interested now in finding out what the deal is with these ibises. Maybe they're very aggressive towards other birds and they want the landfill all to themselves. Sort of like gangs claiming their territory. So that was kind of spooky when I drove in already. It was kind of spooky. Then I, talked to the guy. He told me to get on the scale. And then I had to drive up this really, after I got off the scale, drove off the scale, I had to drive up this windy, like it was in a spiral, up this tall, like, hill to the very top, to a building at the top of the hill, and when I got there, a humongous, I've never seen such a large bulldozer. It was humongous, and the building was humongous. The door to get in was a huge, it looked like the house like of a giant. It was so spooky, but it was kind of cool because it was something I'd never seen before. So, like this, I felt like I was on another planet or something. I honestly felt, and then inside that thing, the big house was full of those ibises also. They were all flying in and out because the door is an open door. And then, so I was at the top of the hill. I was scared to drive in there. Apparently you're supposed to drive inside through the mounds of garbage. They have a little trail through the garbage. And the bulldozer's like pushing it or different places so that there's room. I don't know if then later he's got to take some of that out, obviously, because eventually it's going to get too full in there. So I was scared to drive in there because the bulldozer was so enormous. I was afraid he wasn't going to see me. He was going to roll over me. So I stayed just outside the door. I parked my car. I put the parking brake on, and I got out and I waited. Because I wasn't even going to... And plus there was a sign that said hard hat area. And nobody gave me a hard hat. All they gave me was a vest. They gave me like an orange vest. And I said, what are they giving me an orange vest for, Like I was just going to dump off some bags of garbage and leave. It's not like... I don't know what they were expecting. But... So then I got out of the car. I turned and looked behind me. And there were 3 huge trucks behind me. Private garbage haulers. But just everything was supersized. It was so enormous. And I just felt so teeny there, with my little car, and I felt like a little ant, like an ant must feel. And so the guy that was on the bulldozer climbed down. You don't just jump out of this bulldozer. You had to climb down like a ladder to get out of the bulldozer. And he comes over, then finally I felt normal sized again because I was next to someone. I mean, he was larger than me. He was a big man, but he was normal size, human sized. So I just felt like I felt like a relief. Wow, there's someone here the same size as me. Although he was bigger, but he was more not so scary. And I said, okay, well, I've got this garbage. What do I do? And he said, okay, just drive in here. And I said, drive in there? He said, yeah, well, all right. I guess he figured, I didn't know what I was doing because I didn't. I mean, obviously, I just figured, and I said, okay, where's the recycling? And he said, no, you just throw the garbage in here. I had 4 bags. I said, but I separated all that's glass. Wait, because he was like starting to grab well, I drove the car in where he told me, and I backed it up to a place, and he told me, he was going to empty. I said, wait, but that's glass. Where does the glass go? Where does I have glass, plastic. I was explaining to him the different bags. He's like, oh, it just goes to the same place. I had wasted so much time separating it all for him to just throw it all into the same pile. And I almost was thinking, well, I want to take the glass back with me and the plastic, and I'll just take it home. But it was so much recycling. It was a huge bag, and we have recycling service at my house, but it was so much more than what we usually have. And I thought my parents might get mad. Look what you did. Would you bring that garbage from the bad part of town to our house, and you're overfilling our recycling bin, because we have like a little box for recycling. It doesn't even get full. They pick it up once a week. I guess, maybe my parents would have just said that's fine. I don't know. But I didn't want to deal with maybe them not. And sometimes my mother gets a little bit more upset. My father probably would have been like, oh, you brought recycling from your vacant plot. That's nice. And he might not have said anything. But my mother would have started just giving me a hard time, probably for no reason or for a reason, because it was a lot of recycling. I mean, and then maybe when the recycling people would have come to pick up, they would have wondered why we have so much recycling, and they might have charged us for extra work, or I don't know. I didn't want to deal with it, so I didn't want to take the recycling back. So I just let him take the recycling, and so that was done, and I drove down the windy path again, back down to the scale on the other side for the outgoing scale. It's the same scale, but you come in on one side and you go out on the other. So I got back on the outside of the scale and got out of the car, went to the window, and that's where the lady charged me. And now it's $67 per ton of garbage that you leave. And I was like, I knew I didn't have a ton. I knew I didn't have anywhere near a ton. So she charged me $3.03, which means I must have taken, I guess, about 90 pounds. I did the calculation afterwards. I took about 90 pounds of garbage and recycling. Garbage, because they threw it all into the same pile. So that's really a good deal. And I was thinking, that's why private garbage haulers, people might say, oh, gross. I don't mean that, the ones who work for the county, they just work on a wages, on a salary. But if you're a private garbage hauler, you can make a decent living doing that, because they charge you $100 just, to leave $100 to leave the bin, a garbage bin. They have big trucks that can pick up all that garbage. And so they might charge you $150 to leave a bin on your property for you to fill with garbage. Then they come with their truck and they haul it away. And it's probably not even near a ton. It's probably, I don't know how much it weighs. Well, a ton is 2,000 pounds. They must, they probably don't make that much money. But, maybe they do. Let's say they pick up, I don't know, 500 pounds of garbage. Does that seem reasonable? I mean, $67 a ton. Yeah, let's say they charge you $150. I'm not sure how they do it. Yeah, it's a living. It's a living. I mean, heck, the work I did, getting all that stinky garbage up and it's stinking up my car and everything, I would have charged someone $100 if I was doing it, for money. I didn't do it for money. I did it to help the community and make the community prettier, because now that I purchased that land, I'm part of the community. So it's in my interest to make the land around me look nice too, to make it, a nice place to be. And so I learned this week, so I said, but after that experience, I said, I do want to come back and film because that landfill was really cool, but I don't ever want to have to do that after that again. I just want to film it because I think it's so neat to see, and I would like to show you guys. But I really don't want to put stinky garbage in my car anymore. You know, maybe I was thinking actually of renting a U-Haul. And because U-Hauls are cheap. They charge you by the mile. If you rent a U-Haul or a rider, they really don't charge you very much per day. But what they do charge is per mile. But if I was just going to go to the plot of land and drive a few blocks to the landfill, now that I know which one I need to go to, that would be, let's say, they charge by the mile, I think. And that might be 2 miles at most. And then, the few miles it takes to return the truck, that might actually be worth it to me. But you can report illegal dumping to the city, and then the city comes and cleans it up, which I was hoping I wouldn't end up having to do, but I was getting ready to do it. But, when the city asks you to send a picture, when you report on the website, they encourage you to upload a picture of what you're reporting. So I went back there today to take pictures, and the garbage was gone. So apparently another neighbor had already reported, and I actually know who it was, as it turns out, because I spoke with a gentleman that's in a building a block away. He has an office there, and it turns out he's been doing pretty much what I've been trying to do. He's been there for a bit longer than me, like 2 years. He bought about 2 years ago. And he's been doing what I'm doing, what I was trying to do just now in this past month. So I said, well, it is silly for us to be working all separately. He said, yeah, there's a group of us who are trying to work towards improving the neighborhood and bringing culture and nice things for the residents. And he's the one who told me the people sitting there on the corner drinking are not from the neighborhood. They come, on the weekends or in the afternoons. They drink, they hang out. They, but they're not. They don't live in the neighborhood. He told me. So, okay, I talked way too much. Thanks, guys. Talk to you later. Bye.